City life, sure it's cool, but it cuts like a knife. It's your life, so forget all that you see. It's not reality, it's just a fantasy. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, coming at you live from deep in the bowels of our underground lair. We're passing bills and appropriating money. No, we're not. We don't do that stuff.
I will never be doing that.
We got an omnibus bill here for you? No.
Better not.
No. I'll be a happy guy the day I see those things die for good.
Well, unfortunately, we already had one at the state Senate today.
Oh, yeah.
Something passed by a wide margin, which naturally the House probably won't take up.
Right.
There's a few things in there I don't like, but for the majority of it was necessary. I don't like, you know me, I never like cobbling things together in a bill.
Right.
And the governor's position on it is beyond insanity, but I don't think there'll be, again, here's where you call for a one-house legislature. I mean,
That and one item, one bill.
we can't do it. We just cannot do it. But I'll tell you something. By the way, I totally know the song and don't know who sings it.
Awesome.
I'm singing it in my head.
I know. It popped into my head, and I started singing it, too, and it's like,
And it's an 80s song, and
Yes.
I have no idea who sings it.
Aldo Nova, Fantasy.
Aldo Nova.
Yeah.
Is that Spanish for something?
I don't know.
Nova?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm not much of a Spanish speaker. I can say
Bonjour? Yeah,
Yo
definitely.
estoy el baño.
That's not exactly how it goes.
Yeah, you are the bathroom. That's
Oh,
exactly.
I thought-
That's
Donde
exactly what-
está el baño? That's what I said when I was in Tijuana
Yeah.
and nearly got hit. But,
Itia didn't wanna.
Huh?
Itia didn't wanna.
Yeah, no kidding. There's my extent of going. I've been outside of this country twice in my life.
Yeah.
Once to Tijuana and once to Canada. That's it. Other than that, I've been on U.S. soil my entire existence of 44 years.
I did the Haiti and the France and the Canada three
You did
times.
France, huh?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Would you want original French fries, or why'd you go over there?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
No. I was in high school, stayed with a host family for a week, and then went to Paris for a week. And yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Good time.
So you were in exchange? Was that an exchange?
I think that's generally like a full school year. I just did a couple weeks.
Oh, okay. So you just did a little
So,
visit, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's the thing. I just mentioned this Senate bill in Minnesota passing to address taxing the PP loans. Minnesota taxes forgivable loans. I don't know if you know that. But in our statutes,
Wow.
forgivable loans are taxed.
We get them any which
Yeah,
way.
that's
That's
you gotta give them credit.
fantastic.
Maybe they ought to call up California to call up and see if they've got that or something. They might want that.
They might.
But so they had to pass something, and there's a little bit of urgency to do it. We're getting on a year now we're close to it
Yeah.
for those things. And there's something with unemployment as well, but taxing unemployment. But again, taxing unemployment, and they also all got the extra money. The two things have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
Okay. And now the governor wants to throw school funding in with any one of these bills. I'm like, come on, dude, you got to
I
be
know.
kidding me. He was at Armstrong today. Did you see that?
Oh, I wish they would have strong-armed him out.
Yeah. He was in my city today.
Oh.
I'd have known that. I might have drove over the motorcade or something. I don't know.
What?
I'm kidding. But, it's very close. He was
Yeah.
within blocks of me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it. So, but there's some, they want to do some summer school thing or something. I don't know. Of course, if we just open the schools like we should have, we wouldn't have these issues. But again, Jay, it's an opportunity for people to re-examine where they send their kid to school.
Absolutely.
So there's kind of I don't know why I'm a little bit on the fence here about whether it's good or bad that the schools are open or closed. I mean,
Yeah, it's good for the kids' mental health. It is not so good for their future.
yeah, well, it's
You
just,
know, it's
I just, one of the things I fear is that this is going to be used now for any kind of excuse for more money.
Right.
Like they don't want to take tests this year. And I'm like, well, shouldn't we take a test to see where we're at? I mean, you know why? Because they fear the results.
Right.
So the same people who say distance learning is working are the same people who don't want to figure out if it is working. So, I mean, you're going to see a barrage of this stuff, and the COVID, quote, relief bill, which we'll talk about at a future date, is full of just garbage with this. I don't know. The president must have punched out a little early today because I don't know how he comes. The reopening, he talks about money to reopen schools. I'm like, what do they need money for? What they need is the governors to get off their faces.
Yes.
They don't need nobody's paying. I've never felt more in my life like we don't have a president.
Yeah.
It feels like
true.
We don't have one. The House Dems, they're running the country. None of them pay any attention. None of them pay any attention to what Biden says.
See, I don't agree with that. The House has passed.
Or is
a couple
Harris
of
running
things.
the country?
I think it's people on his staff, and Harris maybe has some input into that, but I think even she is driven by the leftists that are just crazy about passing a lot of all of these.
They're socialist wish lists.
Yeah, but yet I don't feel like they're binding. They're definitely not laws because they're presidential signing statements and executive orders, and that's no way to run a country either. I mean, you can manage the executive branch of the government, government entities, but you cannot pass a law for the regular.
Yeah, it still feels though like nobody's paying any attention to what the president does or says. That's what it feels like.
Well, that's because he's not saying anything or doing anything.
Well, exactly. But I mean, say what you want about President Trump or President Obama or President Bush or President Clinton.
They did at least show up to work.
I never felt like any of those guys punched out at 4:00.
Right.
Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how many times all of them were interrupted with, it just seemed like they were on call all the time, whether you liked them or not. And with Biden, it seems like I don't even know how to describe it. I'm like, is he there? Is he, is he up yet today? I mean, it's kind of like you wonder, somebody working from home, are they laying around in their pajamas or are they?
He might be.
Yeah. I mean, it's just sort of like.
They get him dressed, bring him in to sign something, and back he goes.
I mean, I've never seen a president start a presidency. I mean, here he has a favorable media.
Yeah.
Who's just going to regurgitate whatever he says.
Oh, absolutely.
And he doesn't talk to them. He doesn't answer questions. President Trump was doing press conferences daily.
Right.
And getting bombarded for it. I think he kind of enjoyed it. But, I mean, it was sort of like with Biden, I'm just like, it's like somebody wake him up. I mean, look, I know I've made fun of the president's age and all that, but you have to wonder if somebody can run a presidency from a bunker or from some it's like he's in a cottage. It's like it's The Shining. It's like he's up in a motel somewhere, and nobody has any idea what he's doing or where he is. He doesn't meet with foreign leaders. He doesn't. Is he meeting with Congress? I mean, what is he doing?
No.
So I say the House Dems are taking. Put it to you this way. Typically, when a president comes in, when a new president, forget what party, whether you agree with them or not, whatever, they come in and they're leading the agenda, whoever that is. Trump certainly did. Obama certainly did.
Yeah.
Even if Congress isn't on their side, there's a gravitas that the presidency carries, especially for a while.
Yes.
When everybody's kind of trying to give a new president a chance. And with Biden, it's almost like, I mean, what House Dem is saying to themselves, hey, let's call the president and see what he thinks. They're all meeting with each other. I mean, they're if Biden says something, I don't think any of them I don't think they notice.
Right.
And it's just a strange dynamic to see a president kind of have no control. And I'm not saying they should stand and fall in line and there should be no differences or something. But but it kind of feels like you have a president that's just kind of is a figurehead
Right.
that nobody's really taking very seriously. That's dangerous.
And President Trump is the leader of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And when he was president, Obama was the leader of the
Yes.
Democrat Party. Reagan was the leader of the Republican Party.
You go back to
George
anybody.
W. Bush. Yeah. Clinton was the
Back
leader
to
of the Democrat
FDR,
Party.
go back to
This guy isn't leading anything.
Does he know that? I'm just curious if he knows that.
You know?
Mikhail Gorbachev had a birthday the other day. I think him and Biden are a couple weeks apart.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Happy 90th to the former
Yes.
dictator, by the way.
Oh, fantastic. But yeah, I can't understand it. I don't understand what they're doing, how they're doing it. You tell me the last time there was a crisis like what we have going down at the border right now, and the president sends a team, and he's not part of the team.
Well, and the president doesn't address it either. I mean, that's the other part of the problem is you don't hear what the team is doing. You don't hear proposed legislation. You don't hear, even if it's legislation I don't agree with, there should be a path that we start a debate with.
Right.
And it's just, you're just kind of in flux. But I feel like I have to remind myself sometimes that Biden's the president. I almost forget it. And it's just, I don't know if I can handle another 46 months of this. I don't know if I can handle that, but whatever. Jay,
he's the only man whose presidential library, after he's done being president, will be filled completely with his executive orders.
Yeah, his library's already been built because he's older than most presidents who have a library. I mean, just think. I mean, Bill Clinton was elected president in 1992.
Yeah.
He's 4 years younger than Joe Biden. I mean, just to give you some context.
He doesn't look too good.
No, he does not look too good. I've heard President Clinton he looks like he has cancer, no offense. But I've heard it's because he's a vegan now.
Really?
Yeah. What is that? That they don't eat like cow products or something? Or
They will not eat any animal products whatsoever. They won't eat things that are fried in animal products.
Okay.
It's like
that's what I've heard, that he's a vegan.
Where vegetarians just eat vegetables, but French fries maybe are okay.
Well, there's
French
also
fries would have to be fried in an oil that has no beef tallow whatsoever for a vegan.
Well, there's also the vegetarians who don't eat red meat, but they eat fish and chicken.
Or fish
So,
no, vegans will not eat anything that an animal even spits on. They
got COVID or something?
No milk, no cheese, no dairy of any kind. Yeah, anything that's produced in a plant where they might do things with animal, whatever.
they're nuts. We're the high point of the food chain. Didn't Clinton go to Oxford? Doesn't he know that?
Yeah.
That's what I've heard, though. That's why he is looking gaunt. Because
it'll do.
Now
that
he
too.
ate his share of number 3s at McDonald's back in the day. Okay, so maybe he's making up for it. Maybe all the cows he killed that had to be killed to feed him.
Well, doesn't that? I wonder if it has to do with all of the green stuff. It's all the cow methane is killing us. We can't be eating meat because that's what they're going to be pushing for. You know that, right? You've heard.
But I mean, there's too much money in that industry to destroy it.
Well, we're entering.
Or are we targeting those red states where we can?
We're targeting anything that is not coming out of the Great Reset.
Yeah, or the cities.
The Green New Deal is part of that, and that everybody laughed because
Green New Deal is the blueprint of it. That's the blueprint for the Great Reset.
That's a lot of it. Yeah. So. Yeah, she didn't come up with that. AOC.
Oh, for God's sake, she could. I don't even know if she knows the alphabet.
No, I don't even know if she knows the letters AOC.
Yeah, I wonder what she thinks they stand for.
Yes.
The hell else was I going to bring up? Now you get me off track.
Sorry.
You get me all sidetracked.
Sorry.
Oh, I know what I was going to bring up. Have you heard the latest developments out of New York? See, because I have about Governor Cuomo.
Yes.
have you heard what happened just a few hours ago?
No, I have not.
The House Speaker of the Assembly. I don't know New York's governing structure. I don't know their impeachment proceedings. I don't know their thresholds. I don't know any of that. Didn't look, don't care. New York's a dump. I don't care about it. Okay. But they are introducing the Speaker of the House. Of course, the Democrats control about 70% of the Assembly. Are starting impeachment proceedings against the governor.
Yes.
Now, Jay, I've got some theories on what's going on in New York, because when you lose your own party on something like Cuomo's toast.
Yes.
I'm just going to say this right now: he's toast.
Yes.
Whether he's toast this month or in a couple months, he's going to be gone as the governor. Either he could sit there and get impeached and get removed, or his ass can go out of there now. I don't know, but
he may serve out the rest of his term.
I don't think so.
As far as
I don't think so. Judging by what happened to Elliot Spitzer, which I think there's a little bit of here, because I have come to the conclusion. Look, the Cuomos have been, starting with Mario, they have been in the public eye for a long, long, long time.
Yes.
I mean, Mario goes back to like the 60s. I mean, he was governor of New York in what, the 80s or
something like
Pataki beat him?
Yes.
In 94?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, but he was governor for quite a long time. So, and Andrew Cuomo's been around for a long, long time. I mean, he was in the Clinton administration, the secretary of something. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. So I have a theory on these allegations against him. And I'm not accusing the women of lying. I think the nursing home thing is a scandal in every state.
Absolutely.
I think the governor of Michigan might be in some trouble. Governor Walz should be in trouble, but I don't know why he isn't for some reason.
Because it's Minnesota.
Yeah, and then the Republicans are incompetent. And I mean, I don't think you're going to see any accountability there. But is New York a state that, this is what my theory is. When the allegations came out against Governor Spitzer,
yes,
okay, literally they came out. He resigned about 30 seconds later and was like taken out of Albany in like a covert military operation. I mean, they literally whisked him away,
right?
And he's like in exile somewhere. I mean, I don't know what he's doing. Him and Love Client number 9. I don't know where they are, okay? But I don't know if his wife's there too. I don't know. I don't know what happened. But New York is a state, and I'm going to say it right now. I think the Dems are the ones behind.
Oh, absolutely.
The women coming forward and the nursing home stuff.
Oh, absolutely. They want to go further left.
But it's not just that. You get the Democratic nomination for governor of New York.
Yeah.
You're going to be tough to beat in that state.
Yep.
And I think a lot of them did not like the way Cuomo tried to position himself, take credit for this and that, get fawning media coverage, blah, 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 blah. And I think there's an effort secretly, maybe not so secret. I think there's a lot of people who think he's only there because of his last name, blah, 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 which there's probably some truth to. I think you've got an entire assembly that thinks they should be governor, thinks they're better than him, whatever. And I think this is a factional thing, partly to take him down.
There is truth to that, and I've heard, again, there's rumors. I can't verify this anywhere, but like a lot of the people that are against him are to the left of him, and they do want to drag this thing further left. But
is Cuomo vetoing stuff that is
no?
left,
but he's not a socialist either.
I agree. He is not as bad as a lot of Dems are on the issues. Forget COVID
killing
stuff.
people.
Forget shooting grandma.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. He is not the new leftist that, you know.
And that's the type of person. I forget the lady's name. That.
Okay, then wait it out and run in next year. I mean, why take the guy down? I mean,
They see an opportunity.
But they don't need it. I mean, you can come at. Look, what we've seen is Democrats eating each other, going further left.
Yeah.
You have a Democratic primary, you could take somebody out. You could reach a behind the scenes deal.
Although I'll say this, I think because of the nursing home stuff, he should be. He should be impeached. He should.
Right. I would vote to impeach him, and I'm sure
Yeah.
the Republicans will.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There's a way, and this is Cuomo has, it just shows the arrogance in him.
Oh.
Because
Yeah.
I think he thinks he's bigger than New York. He can't be touched. The media will protect me. I'm a national figure now. I don't need to listen to you little people. And I think his arrogance is really what's come back to bite him, because there's a way to handle this. There's a way to handle harassment allegations. I go back. I was in California when this happened to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger came out. He said, look, I was Conan the Barbarian 20 years ago. I don't remember. I may have done something that offended somebody. I'm sorry if I did. I'm blah, 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 blah. I hate to sound so political, but any kind of quasi-admission or apology takes a lot of the trumpets down. When you come out and say, hey, F you, go after me if you think you can get me, which is basically what he did.
Yeah.
I'm bigger than you. You can't touch me. That's when the claws come out from everywhere. That's when anybody who turned you down for a date is going to come out of the woodwork. And I think he's sowed his own. But I think he's, and I don't think he has the political instincts to gracefully bow out.
No.
But I think the Dems are going to get rid of him, and they think they can do it quickly. They don't want to fight each other. They don't want this lasting all year. They don't want every Democrat in the country having to weigh in on it,
Well, and that's the other thing. The DNC is probably going to weigh in before too long and say, all right, election season is coming. You guys got to cut this out.
Right. Or they're going to
wrap it up. Or
they're going to give Biden will give him a ministership to, Liberia or something and get him out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, I go back to, I remember this happening in New Jersey, Bob Torricelli, Jim McGreevey, whoever the people are that forced him out, whoever they are.
Yeah.
I don't know who they were, but they're some big donors or something were able to force them out of there and put in John Corzine, their guy, who would, let the banks do whatever they wanted.
Right.
I mean, it was obviously something to get rid of them. The same people who are going after Andrew Cuomo, the same people that went after Elliot Spitzer. I mean, whoever they are, okay, it's the same power brokers doing that. So, I don't know. He could be. He just doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to come away with any kind of. How do I put it? Cut his losses and just get away.
He's not that kind.
You've ripped off taxpayers long enough. Why don't you just go get a real job?
The bigger question is this, in my mind. Can we also have a 2-for-1 and impeach Chris Cuomo from CNN?
No, leave him there. I'm fine. You leave him there.
I don't want to see him ever again.
True, but I mean, if you get rid of Chris Cuomo, what are those 6 people going to watch that night? I mean, come on,
Oh, I'm sure they can bring back they can promote Al Sharpton's show.
They bring Lou Dobbs back. Why don't they do that?
They're not bringing Lou Dobbs back to CNN.
I know. Well, I don't know. I think you're going to see. I really do think though that you're going to see a lot of governors really under the gun.
Yeah.
Especially with nursing homes, and they want all the power. They get all the crap that comes with it, and you might see this state to state now.
Well, let's hope we see it in this state.
Well, I want it re-examined in every state.
Yeah.
I don't care if I like the governor or not.
Right.
I want the whole idea of what is an emergency, how long can something last,
Absolutely.
what are the metrics to do this and that. There's no excuse not to have that conversation.
Nope. None.
I mean, it doesn't matter what party is in charge. And unfortunately, that's never the debate we have.
Right.
No,
and I agree with you there. I just, I have a sore spot about all the nursing home deaths. But yes.
Me too. My wife works in one.
I also agree. If they're taking these powers and they're not giving them back, we need to look at how every state handles it.
And I'll tell you what, even the governors that I think have done a good job, like Governor DeSantis, who I think has been exceptional.
Governor Nome.
Yes, they still wield, even though they didn't use it like the other governors,
Yeah.
they still wield a tremendous amount of power.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's a good or bad thing, or how do you, Minnesota law is so flawed on this. The idea that a governor can declare something,
Yes.
and the only way to take it from him or her is if both. If this is the case, and you can declare racism an emergency.
Yes.
Okay, and then you can have unfettered powers for 4 years if your party controls one house. Mm-hmm. It could happen.
Yep.
So it's that bad. And the courts don't have the guts to step in, and quite frankly, the courts really aren't the people to decide this. It's lawmakers who are supposed to do that.
Yes.
Courts don't legislate. Anyway, okay.
Ah.
But it'd be interesting to see what happens in New York. I think it's just a cluster blank. And by the way, they have the signatures to recall Gavin Newsom now
I know.
in California.
That's so
I think
good.
coincidence. The state finally started opening up. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure the science now is so different than it was last week. I'm sure. I'm sure that's the reason. So
Absolutely.
well, Jay. Unfortunately for all of us here in Minnesota, the legislature is in session.
Yeah, that never ends well.
Personally, if they packed up and left permanently, I would probably, at least I'd attempt a cartwheel. There might be a San Andreas fault line in the parking lot, but at least I would attempt one. But they are doing stuff that can affect local government. And we'll give updates all throughout the session. I'm sure we'll, cover there's going to be a bonding bill. Somewhere between 150 million and 518. My guess is it'll be about 510.
Right.
That's my guess.
That's pretty close.
Yeah. Well, it'll be conservative because Walz will only get 95% of what he wants. That'll be conservative. It'd have been 100 if it wasn't for, those Senate Republicans you elected. So, as we look at the things going on in regards to local government in the legislature. Of course, we have our little groups that we kind of take little peeks at once in a while and see what they're pushing and what they're getting the starch out of their shorts about when it comes to legislative initiatives. And we got our friends over at the League of Minnesota Cities.
Oh, my favorite.
They always say good things about you.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
They follow me on Twitter. I'm honored.
Yeah?
When I first got on Twitter and I was running for mayor, do you know that within 24 hours, I had Keith Ellison and Amy Klobuchar following me?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I followed them.
Yeah. Good.
Just like, all right. You
Deserve
want to follow
it.
me? I'll follow you. But the League of Minnesota Cities, Jay, which you can find tweeting at Minnesota Cities. They've got their bold agenda for this session that we're on. And you'll be glad to know that the League of Minnesota Cities is all about information on racial equity related to the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, Jay, I don't know if I'm dense or not, but I have not seen a whites only sign on vaccinated sites. Have you seen that anywhere?
No, I have not.
So what is the racial equity with COVID vaccines? Communities of color, this is from their own website, lmc.org, have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Is that true?
I don't think
What does
so.
that mean?
I don't know. I wonder if they're saying like a lot of the COVID testing places aren't on transit lines or,
Well, it's all being done right now by age, by certain medical conditions,
Right.
so on and so forth. Why is that, according to them, racist?
Well, I don't know. As the last time I checked, there's probably percentage-wise same amount of old white people as old black people, as old Asian people, as old.
I think they get it no matter what.
Yeah.
There's been talk about signing up by the internet being a problem. I got a question for Minnesota. Maybe reaching people who are 70, 80, or 90, maybe the internet isn't the best way to do that. Just a thought. I mean, if you're 20, okay, the internet's probably glued to their forehead. But I mean, what? But they have this. They have as big of an obsession with this racial equity stuff as any. They have a whole section on their page, race equity resources during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, absolutely. And this partially ties into, reparations and...
Are they in favor of that too?
I don't know. I have not seen that, but I mean, it all kind of ties into that. The whole equity thing really is about reparations and giving a hand out to certain groups and taking away from others, but it's partially about that, and then it's partially about immigration though too, because the League of Minnesota Cities it has the whole Welcoming Cities initiative, which is all about.
That's from the National League of Cities.
That's from the National League.
Yeah.
Yep. And that comes down through the Minnesota League of Cities, and that's about getting immigrants into the state and setting up,
little Italy's everywhere or
Right.
something, right?
Right.
Instead of that, we're having, what do you call it? Little Mogadishu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, refugees and all that.
Right.
But on this entire page here, if you go to their website again, they have a questionnaire that deals with race equity resources. And take a look at question 6. I don't want to read it to everybody, but what kind of statement could a city make related to race equity and COVID-19? And of course, they cite as an example a resolution passed in Minneapolis. I mean, of all places on the face of the earth,
Right.
Minneapolis is the mayor hereby requested to center race equity in all aspects of the city's COVID-19 response and mitigation efforts, and to analyze implications of actions taken during this local public health emergency through a racial equity impact analysis. They show other examples of Boulder, Colorado. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Tacoma, Washington. I'm even more shocked. And then they have another thing here about question 7. What are Minnesota cities doing to address race equity during this health pandemic? And then they cite examples from Bloomington, from Brooklyn Park, from Edina, from Minneapolis, St. Paul, of all this stuff. I mean, they're pushing the race equity almost even more than the schools are.
Right.
I mean, race is like the only thing being talked about. They go into St. Paul's Human Rights and Equal Economic Opportunities, HREO, HREEO, somebody call it HREO, has been working with partners in the Asian community and city council to put out anti-discrimination statements and ask residents to report potential discrimination. So once again, we're going to have the tattling.
Yes.
From person to person here, just like they wanted, people to report somebody not wearing a mask or not.
But how do you report potential discrimination?
I think it's the language police. They're going to go around on social media pages and so on and so forth, and anything that they disagree with, they're going to call racist or potentially racist or find somebody who's offended by it, so on and so forth. But I mean, the again, the COVID vaccine is racist. Remember that. That is racist, no doubt about it. I know you believe that, Jay.
No.
You don't? You don't think it is?
Well, I mean, the virus is known to go, hey, that guy over there, he's African American. Let's get him.
Well, I mean, and the whole thing of
Yeah.
disproportionately affecting, I don't understand what that's based on. I mean, is that based on more single-family homes in certain races?
I
more
would say that's probably true.
service jobs,
Yeah.
more. You know, a lot of minorities are in the healthcare field. I mean, is although they've been working the whole time,
Right.
I mean, is that what that's meant? Are more minorities out of work? I mean, I haven't seen anything that backs that up
Right.
statistically. I've seen a lot of rhetoric about it, but I haven't seen anything that factually shows that that's true. Or are we just back to the everything's racist and
Yes.
we're doing that?
That's the starting point. Everything's racist, and then you work back from there.
Well, but it's certainly all over their Twitter page. If you want to go to @Minnesota Cities, if you dare, pushing cannabis legislation. There is a House file on this. Again, I mean, what your opinion is on that, I don't know. House File 600, sponsored by Arthur Fonzarelli, Winkler III Jr. But they are up and supposedly supporting this bill. In fact, they have a resource people. Again, your opinion on this withstanding, what's this got to do with local government? Could anyone explain to me, is there employment issues around this in some cities or what? I mean,
Not to my knowledge.
Just curious what the hubbub is with what it could be on this. Some bills have been introduced as well dealing with local government aid. Can I ask you a question, Jay?
Yeah.
When are we going to get to a point where we can talk about LGA as whether it even should exist or not?
Do we ever get to that point? I'm
That
not. Is like saying, yeah, I know I've been giving you $100 a week here to take care of things, but I'm cutting you off. You're going to fight that.
But I mean, both sides, talk about that all the time. And I've never seen a conversation in St. Paul regarding, should we have this at all?
Yeah.
Is taking tax dollars, sending them to St. Paul, throwing it into a formula that nobody can explain to you, and having it blasted out to cities or counties or whatever, is that a good, efficient way to fund anything? I mean, we talk all the time about, and I've heard people on both sides of the aisle criticize, say, the federal education department, sending money to Washington and then having to beg for it back. I mean, why doesn't that? I've heard people on both sides of the aisle complain about that.
Right.
Why don't we see that on local government aid? Why doesn't anybody say, you know what? No, I don't think. Or could there be like incentives maybe to get off of it? Or,
that would help. But unfortunately, they're only incentivized right now to take it.
Yeah, let me show you some examples. I don't like any of these bills when I'm looking at them. Some of them sound good. Senate File 243 from Roger Chamberlain, a friend of ours. I like him.
Yeah.
Would require only Minneapolis and St. Paul to dedicate a portion of their LGA to funding new police officers. Now, stop and think about that for a minute. Why should the state be funding anybody's police department?
Shouldn't.
That's
a local function.
Right. And if you're going to get aid from the state, it should not be for your absolute core services. They should be there ought to be incentives to be a self-sufficient city.
Right.
If you want to put money away to do a project where you pay cash instead of bond, all right, I can live with that. Mm-hmm. But to require a part of that money to be spent on something, forget that it's Minneapolis and St. Paul and their nightmare cities.
Right.
And just remember that you're taking the local decision making out of the hands. What if this ever gets expanded to other cities? I mean, what's to stop it? What's to stop it from, the next time it's there in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Why don't we put it everywhere?
Right. We've seen that with a number of other things, so we know that happens.
And we've got it again. House File 545 would require cities to dedicate a portion of their LGA to fund housing development, redevelopment, and rehabilitation. The percentage would be dedicated to the equal of the percentage of housing built before 1970? Yeah. No LGA for cities reducing police officer staff. Well, what if a city decides, this is Senate File 49, would make cities ineligible to receive local government aid if the city reduces the number of police officers in a future budget? Well, what if the city decides they have too many police officers, or they're not going to fill a position that's retired?
Right.
It's going to cost them their LGA. Maybe they're just being responsible with their tax dollars.
Could be. I think the heart behind this is to keep people from defunding the police. But
true, but ultimately, you got 853 cities that all have different needs, all of different sizes. You can't tell me that there aren't police departments that are too big or could cut something.
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't that be the city's decision, though, ultimately?
Too many chiefs, not enough Indians?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, you want to cut, you don't need so many people in charge, or maybe the population has reduced in a city and you don't need so many officers. I mean, crime is down. We should be celebrating that, if that's true. So, I mean, why should they be penalized? Maybe they're being good stewards of people's tax dollars.
Yeah, you got me on that.
I don't know. I don't want to agree with the league on anything. Trust me. And I'm not. They don't really say where they stand on this. I'll tell you something else too. Is there any group that holds more seminars and webinars and things than the league?
No, probably not.
I mean, they invented the webinar.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
pretty much. I mean, unless you're like in the internet world and you're in marketing and stuff like that. HubSpot has a lot.
On the internets?
Yeah, on the internet side of things. But once you get into government, they're always trying to push their agenda, that's for sure.
Gotta love this.
Yes.
Climate change's impact on infrastructure. Discussed in the House. Several recommendations for managing climate change were presented, including some that would help cities. So we have the climate change infrastructure. Among the recommendations presented to mitigate the effects of climate change was one that would be helpful to cities. MPCA, one of your favorite groups.
Oh, I love the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Love them.
Recommends, listen to this recommendation, yes. Allocating $1.5 billion per year to help local governments do vulnerability assessments to determine how to protect and upgrade their infrastructure and to change their planning to include these risks. Can I ask a question? Yeah. Why does everything the government does have to cost seven figures?
Well, because it's not their money.
How hard does it take to pick up some soil and analyze it?
Yeah.
pick up a little chunk of concrete and look at it. Why does that cost $1.5 million a year?
Well, money's got to go somewhere, right?
It wouldn't surprise me either to see more, this being used for, electric cars, greenways, dirt roads, whatever, whatever you could possibly think of, swinging from tree vines. I don't know. There's another bill, HF 496, that would make some changes to the annual tax hearing and notification process, also referred to as the truth in taxation hearing. The league is looking for your input, Jay.
Yeah, they don't want my input.
Yeah. The bill would require cities with populations of 500 or more to notify the public of its revenue, expenditures, fund balances, and other relevant budget information that the city uses to establish the property tax levy. The city must solicit feedback on the budget and proposed levy prior to certifying the proposed levy. The proposed property tax notice distributed by the counties to each property owner would have to include a one-page document that summarizes all this crap. Okay? The bill would establish the first Wednesday following the first Monday in December.
What? First
Was that
Wednesday
like
following the first Monday?
Okay, so it's kind of like the election day. But that will be Minnesota Property Taxpayers Day. Hey, we're going to establish a Property Taxpayers Day.
Oh boy.
On which counties, cities, blah 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 blah. First off, you can't all hold the meeting on the same night. Don't you have a school board and a county and a city? It'd be hard to be at all three, wouldn't it?
It would be very hard to be at all three.
Oh wait, counties would hold their hearing at 6. Cities would be at 7. The school districts at 8. You could go to all of them, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Each blah 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 blah. The bill does not have a Senate companion as of yet. So a little dancing around here's the problem with the budget.
Yes.
As we have said a million times, that's not all the tax money that you have. So anything just about the budget, Jay, is not complete.
Nope, we've got bonding, we've got all sorts of fees.
Assessments, we've got anything that's not in the general fund budget, you won't find it.
Well,
I mean, you could be paying more on, city could owe more on assessments than they have in a general fund budget for a year.
yeah.
So you're not getting a complete picture. I mean, if everything was in one place, this might be valuable. If everything is going to be hidden in page 213 of a comprehensive annual financial report, then this is freaking useless.
Right.
I mean, look, I have a question for the legislature. Why do they always talk about transparency and stuff like this when it comes to other forms of government? Notice they don't follow their own rules.
Oh, no.
They make the rules for, a city can't negotiate a budget behind closed doors, but the legislature can.
Absolutely.
What do you think happens every May? I mean, they don't do anything for 4 months, and then they all sit in a room and get drunk and eat pizza, and they come out with a deal. I mean, but cities can't do that. Now you're going to tell them what time they have to hold their hearing and what date.
Yeah.
I mean, the legislature, they can't finish their work on a certain day. So let's see what else they're up to. Hold on a second. House Selects Committee challenges legislature to address systemic racism.
Oh, like we didn't see that coming.
Consider racial disparity impacts of bills. Report consistent with league racial equity policy. So they're all on board with, let me see if I can get a number on this bill. Oh, it's a committee. Select Committee on Racial Justice. Boy, they got to knock down the door to get on that. The chair, Representative Rena Moran, 65A. And I don't know who Ruth Richardson, 52B. They are the committee chairpersons. What's the membership of this?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm not liking the membership so far.
Who's on it? Anyone we know?
Let's see. Oh, we know Ann New.
Yeah.
See if any of your friends are on there.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I don't see any of your friends, Jay. I see some hyphenated names. They got to be DFLers. Here's what I don't understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got 9 DFLers on this
Yeah.
and 4 Republicans on it.
Well, that sounds...
Well, that's fair. I mean, that's
yeah.
fairer than it normally is in the House.
It's over 2-1.
Greater than 2-1.
Yep. Over 2-1. And they, in the legislature, they don't have a 2-1 majority. So why not make it 2-1 in committee?
Nothing's close to a 2-1 majority.
Right.
No House documents can be found from this group so far. So far, so good. I'll tell you what. Reading their agenda, you got to be pretty worried. Their agenda doesn't change a whole lot year to year. I mean, it's a lot of similar stuff.
Right.
But what's amazing is how the League and the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities are so similar.
Right.
I mean, why would you think, why would anybody think that they would be so close? I mean, you could follow the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities on, well, they're not following me. I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, they should be.
I don't see them following me. They are pushing, I see something right away.
Yes.
Senate File 1903, which creates a grant program to help cities pay for infrastructure needed for housing development. So you're going to have a housing development plan, and I guess the state's going to pay for the infrastructure around it. Well, that's just wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And a grant program, great, which we all know what that will entail from the state. It'll be all the requirements, all the fun things, electric car stations and things like that to, goodness. When are we going to get back to it? I cannot watch Zoom stuff. I mean, I can't watch anything where everyone's on the TV.
Yes.
Come on. I mean, you can't go down. You can't go down and you can have a hearing. You got what, a dozen people on a committee, and they can't have an in-person hearing. You can't distance people a little bit in the audience or something, or have some of them testify during the morning or during the.
Yeah, but if they start shattering that illusion, that means that, they have to start doing other things because it's not as bad as they said it was.
I think one of the worst things you can have is a budget surplus.
Yeah.
I like it when there's huge deficits, because when there's huge deficits, nobody's out there with 1,000 ideas of how to spend it. So I mean, but the league or the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities has got a whole lot of ideas on how to spend this. Money everywhere. I mean, just everywhere for housing. Many cities, this is minpost.com, which is something they cite. Many cities are taking steps to encourage housing construction by waiving fees or other incentives. But we need the state to partner to fix Greater Minnesota's broken housing market. What's wrong with the housing market in Greater Minnesota?
I don't know that there is one. I mean, I know that they will argue that there's one because there's not enough high-density housing, not enough mid-density housing.
Housing options, right, Jay?
Life cycle housing, housing options, yes, all those grand
So
terms.
that's the problem. That's the problem then, is that they're just not enough.
Right.
We need more. Yeah, you need more nursing homes, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, more assisted living, more low income. Yeah.
Why is that what you'd want to attract if you were But here's what they want to do. Here's what the coalition wants to do. Create a fund, a new Greater Minnesota Fix-Up Fund that provides grants to assist cities in rehabilitating dilapidated housing. Well, let me ask a question. If you have a dilapidated house, somebody owns that property.
Yes.
And if they're in code violation, if it's dilapidated, there are steps the cities can take.
Slap a fee on them.
Or a lien or something. You can't sell it until this is done, or this isn't up to code and you've got to blah, blah, blah. Here's an even better idea. I say that, of course, with mockingly a little bit. Pass a bonding bill that includes funding to establish a Greater Minnesota infrastructure grant program to help communities offset the cost of providing essential infrastructure like water and sewer connections to new housing developments. So not only do they want state money to fix up housing, they want state money to set up sewer and water.
Yeah.
How about letting them have their own sewer and water? How about letting them, tap into their own? Why don't you become water independent? How many smaller cities are next to a river or a big lake or something like that where they could all draw from? I mean, I don't know where they do now.
Yeah.
But I mean, water and sewer connections what do they want? A Met Council and everywhere? I mean, is that what they want? Listen to this.
Yes.
Put additional money into the existing Greater Minnesota Workforce Housing Development Fund. How many funds we got?
A lot.
And institute policy changes that make the fund more usable for Greater Minnesota communities. Lawmakers should remember that different regions have different needs. No, really? A program that works for Brooklyn Center or Apple Valley, and you don't want to follow either city, may not work for Thief River Falls or Austin. Whenever possible, they blah, 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 blah. You know what? If you want your own thing, okay? I mean, it's like who wrote this? Hold on. This was written by Brian Holmore, who is the Thief River Falls mayor, and Shane Zutz is the vice president of human resources for DigiKey. Who the hell is that? Come on, Jay. You usually know that stuff.
DigiKey. Yeah, I don't know what that is. That is a surprise to me as well.
Financing is difficult to obtain. High costs make it incredibly difficult to obtain financing unless... What? I don't know what they're talking about here.
Well, finish the sentence for the readers. Yeah,
yeah.
The readers,
unless you have the cash to put enough money to pay in cash, and that's what a young worker does. It is hard to get a new starter home built. I don't really think it is. Whether renovating an older home or building a new one, development costs in Greater Minnesota typically exceed the appraised value of the finished product. Really? The problem exists for multifamily housing as well, where the median rent demanded in Greater Minnesota are $200 to $500 less than than what a developer need. Well, I mean, again, that's the housing market.
Right.
I mean,
You can't force the housing market.
I mean, the demand of rent in Robbinsdale versus Plymouth is also very different.
Mm-hmm.
It's different from Brooklyn Park to Andover.
Yep.
So what are you going to do about that? Got rent equity or something like that? I mean, what are you going to do? It's supply and demand. I mean, and I go back to who are the people always trying to jack up the prices of this stuff? It's always government.
Yeah.
It's always government trying to jack up the taxes, jack up the fees, make it easy to borrow, put you in debt.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get garbage like this. Oh, well, we renovated. No, it's not worth it. Baloney. Over a long equity of owning a home, every renovation pays for itself in some way, shape, or form.
Probably.
But you got to stop thinking of your house as a place to make money. Okay, it's a place to live.
Yeah.
So I mean, when did that start? When did a house become something you put in your portfolio? You got it in your portfolio. I know that. I've seen it. I seen it.
What portfolio?
Well, that there's that one page that's about 6 inches thick of all the money you owe, and then there's your net worth, which I think was like a corner of a side of a page or something. I think that's I saw it, Jay. I saw your whole complete workup. I know it.
All right.
By the way, I should mention that all of these organizations have along with places like the Chamber of Commerce and all that, all support another bonding bill.
Yes.
All supported the police reforms last year, touted the bonding bill of last year, so on and so forth. I mean, they're all united. They're all for big government in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Whether that's in subsidies, whether it's in aid, whether it's in this fund or that. I just want to know how many funds there are in Minnesota. It would be very fun to find out how many there are.
It would not be very fun.
Just look up your city budget, see how many funds they have. Times that by a lot. That's what you're going to get.
Right.
Now, Jay, let me ask you this. How bad can it get here, do you think, in this session? What do you think the nightmare, some nightmare things are that we come out of this?
Oh, goodness.
Because, look, everything's not going to pass.
Right.
But we have some people who are not very good at compromising.
Yeah.
You got a surplus, which means everybody thinks they're entitled to more.
Mm-hmm.
So what comes out with cities and counties and all that?
Oh, goodness. I mean, there's always, the push for equity is huge, and we know that, and we know that's not going to let up. We also know that there's a push toward the ESGs, and through the Great Reset, you have your environmental, your social, and your governance. A lot of that is going to take the shape through business, because it's the private-public partnerships, yeah. And because they can't pass it at the government level, you're going to have businesses passing these things. And right now, we're looking at that at a federal level, and it's at a state level, and I think it's going to weed its way down into counties and cities as well.
Could it be that you're going to have more of these stakeholder groups that are going to pass something and then recommend it down to the cities, or be looking?
Oh, there'll be ton more of those, and that's what we're going to is a stakeholder economy. We're moving out of a shareholder economy where the people that have skin in the game, that have equity, you're worried about making those people happy. We're moving from shareholder into a stakeholder economy, in where it's just the people who are invited to the party get to make the rules.
So who are they, though? I mean.
Well, there's a huge list, and there are Minnesota companies that are on that list. When you're looking at places, you drive past some of these places as well. Medtronic has billboards up about equity. Boston Scientific, full of equity.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I've never seen. I don't look at billboards, so you.
I don't look at them a ton, but there's one by Medtronic in Fridley that, they always have something up there about social justice and equity, and so
Somebody's giving them some free money. They've got to play the game to get the free dough, I guess, or if you want to say that. But
right.
you got a lot of companies, you got a lot of foundations, you have a lot of stakeholder groups, you have a lot of organizations, you have a lot of we've talked about when business and government get together, boy, it's a disaster all the way around. I mean, every which way it's a disaster as it can be.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what, a lot of things can get worse though too. The environmental stuff is stuff that I continue to constantly worry about. The idea that all these requirements are going to be placed on new buildings. The league supports that. The Greater Coalition of Minnesota Cities supports that. There have been bills in the past up to try to force that. Now it's quote voluntary, but we know what that means when it comes to government.
Right.
And we're looking at the same things again being forced out. And all supported by people in our name that we're paying dues to. I mean, when can we get, we need a coalition to pay somebody other than the League of Minnesota Cities for our city insurance.
Yes.
Somehow we have to get, that's the only way I think we can break this stranglehold that they have on these city governments.
Right.
So somehow do that. Maybe you and I ought to go to the insurance business. You and I could pass that test, Jay.
I have.
Oh, you have? You got an insurance license?
I did once upon a time.
Oh, okay.
Life insurance, life and auto, yeah.
Really? Okay. Because we could go redo that, and that way we could go to these cities and say, you don't want to pay the League of Minnesota, you can pay us. Mm-hmm. We'll insure you if something happens.
Those are big policies, though. And, if a city gets caught into something where they committed libel or, some sort of malpractice, I mean, it's definitely up in the millions of dollars.
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately it depends who shows you. By the way, I want to go to a tweet from the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities from February 23rd. Our communities need more apartments and multifamily units. But finding developers willing to build in Greater Minnesota is a serious challenge. I guess they can't. So, but again, that's also contradictory. You can't want affordable housing and then say, well, they're not charging enough for rent. I mean, how do you reconcile those two things? I mean, you don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like I previously said, that's what they want out there is the high density. They want the mixed use. They want the medium density. I mean, and that just proves it that, we've been doing this a long time and we've seen these trends from city to city to city to city to city. And it's not a surprise. I know I've told the story before, Independence, Minnesota. Not too many people right out on the edge of Hennepin County. And
is that still in Hennepin County?
Yeah, that's still in Hennepin County. And its comprehensive plan called for high-density units, which they had zero of at the time. And so the push for that is everywhere.
Well, and keep in mind, they're still under the Met Council banner there then in Hennepin County. I know it's, what is Wright County? Is that what it's on the border of? I don't know. It's, it's very, very close, but they also are pushing $100 million in bonding for clean water infrastructure grants, even though they say that $43 million is the total cost. Well, that's interesting. There's also a child care shortage in Greater Minnesota. Do you know that?
Really?
Funny, Greater Minnesota's population hasn't moved in about 2 generations yet. Now all of a sudden there's a child.
Right.
They must not be getting all the money that that everybody's getting.
Yeah. That's got to be it.
I don't know. I think that it's funny how you and I advocate for cities and how they advocate for cities.
It's a lot different.
I mean, Jay, somehow, you think about this. Somehow we have to get our own. I know we did a show like this a year or two ago where we came up with our own agenda.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, for the state legislative session. Okay? And somehow we've got to I think next year we ought to actually put out, just like they do, a legislative agenda of what we would do to help local communities. I would probably have a laundry list of things to repeal rather than new things to ask for. Yeah. Instead of asking for more money for this and bonding for this and blah, 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 it'd be something more of like, see all these statutes, I want them bye-bye. That's how we're going to fix this thing. Met Council, I don't want anybody appointed.
Nope. I don't know if I want anyone elected either.
I don't want anybody elected. I don't want staggered terms. I don't want any of that. I want it all gone.
Yes.
Any reform short of that is not good.
No.
Why does somebody think staggered terms? There's a big hubbub about that last year.
How's that going to help?
So a bureaucrat is appointed in 2020 instead of 2018. Zippity-doo-dah.
Right.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
And how about where is the stuff to discourage borrowing? Where is the stuff? You want to talk about transparency? How about everything in one place? Mm-hmm. The things about, charter cities, which can govern themselves and write their own rather than statutory. There's nothing. I mean, you'd think the League of Minnesota Cities would be pushing charter cities.
Yeah, and this is what I don't understand. The League of Minnesota Cities should be pushing whatever is best for the cities. Instead, they're pushing on the cities this greater set of legislation from National League of Cities, from special interests, from the state of Minnesota, and it's tough.
Yeah, right. Instead of saying, okay, let's get cities to do things themselves, whatever they choose it should be. Mm-hmm. Instead, it's no, we want specific policies put in place everywhere, which just lumps them in with every other group out there.
Yep.
This is, I mean, I don't know. This is depressing to read. I mean, it's just, hey, what was that other group? What was that Metro Cities group or Association of Metropolitan Municipalities?
Yes,
are they still around?
Yes. That's a good question. I can look that up quick.
Do they tweet? I bet they tweet.
Yes, they probably do. Most of these groups do.
Well, that's unfortunate.
No, that's good because it allows us to keep an eye on them.
Yeah, well, I guess so. But they only have 73 pages of demands from the legislature. That's just not enough.
No. Wow. It's a lot of demands. Quit being so demanding. Yeah, Association of Metropolitan Municipalities.
Okay, I just followed them
on metrocitiesmn.org.
Yes, and I just started following them on Twitter.
Twitter. That's good.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. That's fine.
They retweeted that the governor's budget proposals maintain local government aid at current levels. They seem to support income tax increases as well.
Yes.
Well, that's just wonderful of them.
Yeah, they have 73 pages of legislative policies. So.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I see they tweeted the Met Council. They're not as active on Twitter as some of these stuff. How about East Metro Strong? Why aren't they following me? Faster Minnesota Transit buses will improve health and equity.
Buses improve health.
Yeah.
That's a good joke.
Again, I come back to this, no offense, but go on a bus and look at the people in there. You'll see the unhappiest, unhealthiest people on earth. Sorry, they're either shooting themselves or getting their diabetes shots while they're sitting on the bus. It is not. How does it increase health to ride the bus?
It doesn't.
And by the way,
You got to walk to the bus stop, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, and what's amazing is this entire what did they Twitter at East Metro Strong? Everything's all about transit in there.
Yeah.
Transit this, transit that, electric cars. Maple Grove Transit, bravo, yippee. You'll be glad to know Maple Grove Transit is offering free rides for COVID vaccinations.
Ooh.
So maybe I'll get vaccinated every day and get a free ride. How's that sound?
Hey, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Sign me up for the ride and the vaccination.
God, there's just nothing but transit on here. By the way, isn't transit high density housing bad in the COVID world? Isn't that the opposite of what we're told?
Everybody get on the bus. We're going to go down and get COVID shots.
Okay, here's something that they're pushing
Yes.
called the Try It Plan. Has no monthly membership fees and works great for you when you need a car. They'll waive, so it's like, what is it, a car rental thing?
Yeah, I can't tell.
They have a car rental program.
Huh. Interesting. I mean, that's a government function, legitimately, right? Renting out cars. It's Hertz is right under the legislative branch, right?
Must be. Boy, they retreated Pete Buttigieg. Boy, that doesn't go over very well.
No.
Ugh. Oh, they supported Transit Equity Day. What doesn't have a day or a,
I guess we don't.
I don't know what group this is, but Keep Minnesota Moving for better comprehensive transportation system, including more, better, and faster transit in the Twin Cities and Greater Minnesota.
More, better, and faster. That in Greater Minnesota, that means ride sharing. That means
Is that car-free living again? Or
getting the high-speed rail out to the various parts of the state, I'm sure. Getting it to Duluth, getting it to Rochester, all of that.
Who'd want to ride to Rochester?
Not me.
Is that where the Mayo is? Yeah. But okay. If you got a doctor appointment, but other than that, there's no reason to go there.
Yeah, that's true. No other reason at all. Everything shuts down at 6.
Well, you can't get a beer after 10, I can tell you that. But, look, here's the thing. This local stuff, Jay, and we talk about this a lot, flies under the radar a lot.
Yes.
It's not the sexy stuff that gets talked about on the news, or it's not covered, I don't think, very well. Certainly not covered critically anywhere.
Right.
So, I mean, we have to stay on top of what these groups are pushing and what the pending legislation is in St. Paul, because you don't know what can end up being part of a hodgepodge compromise. Local government aid and grants and all that are going to be part of the budget.
Yes.
Because no one seems to want to discuss, whether they should exist or what's fair, what's not, or, how much Maple Grove should finance everybody. I don't know. I mean, those discussions seem to never happen.
Right.
And maybe you have so much aid, here's the thing I'd like to know. Why do Duluth, Minneapolis, and St. Paul continue to get so much free dough?
Yeah, that's a good question. They obviously get a lot in taxes.
They have a lot of representatives
Yes.
too. If you add up the senators and House members from those three cities,
Yes.
it's probably 30 or more, I would say, maybe more,
Yeah.
House and Senate from those three cities. It's a lot. And it's almost like nothing can get done unless that group, and they're pretty much one party, but it doesn't really matter because neither party seems to look at this very critically.
Right.
But what's going on in those three cities that requires hundreds of millions of dollars? Why can't Minneapolis, with 400,000 residents and sports stadiums and subsidized transit and subsidized housing and corporate headquarters and all that office space and convention center money, but why can't they be self-sufficient?
Yes. They should be able to be. Every city should be able to be, and
I mean, is it just the fact that they're just spending too much, or is it they've been on the state's dime for so long that they don't know any different? I mean,
that's part of it too. They get all this money and they spend it. They don't hold on to it. They don't put it away for an emergency project.
Tax dollars. It's got to go out at least as fast as it comes in.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, if they're getting that kind of money, I should expect no bonding, no assessing.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, they're getting that much money. How is it that they don't have, money for that basic stuff? I mean, come on. Minneapolis is like getting something like $80 million or something like that in some form of aid. And yet they still can't, they still don't have enough to go through their own. I mean, it's asinine. And I mean, and again, I think those three cities getting so much really prevents the larger conversation from ever happening.
Right.
Like, okay, well, how do we get rid of that? There are cities who are getting rid of their dependency on LGA by putting that money into capital costs and not having it on their budget, something you and I always talk about, not putting it on their budget, not having your police, fire, roads, having those things self-sufficient.
Yes.
And there needs to be incentives to do that. There's got to be.
Yeah.
Because this merry-go-round of money is just insane. It's insane. Crazy.
Yeah, we spend a lot more than we need to, and they tax us a lot more than they need to. That's for sure.
You're kidding, right?
Oh, yeah. Totally facetious. Please take more.
I mentioned a couple of months ago about that I watched that old debate with Jesse Ventura in it, Ventura Humphrey Coleman, and how they were arguing over a $23 billion budget and how we're looking at a $52 billion. I mean, at the current rate we're going, okay, that's like one generation. I mean, 1998 was 23 years ago. I mean, that's one generation.
Yeah.
So we're looking in, I don't want to make a 2050 plan here or a 2040 plan, but we're going to have a $100 billion budget.
Mm-hmm.
The way
if we don't stop, yeah.
I mean, it's probably going to be 60, 70, 80, even if we slow it down.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And all the while, you see the state losing a congressional seat, which we're going to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not Texas here, okay? We're not growing 3, 4, 5 million people a decade.
Right.
Okay, it's not what's happening here. We're not Florida. It's one thing to have a larger budget if 5 million people come in the state, okay? It's another thing when you're stagnant at best. So, brutal times.
Yes.
Not looking forward. I'm so glad I'll be fishing
Yeah.
with the budget stuff. I'm always fishing that week. It's so great. I never even look at it until we have to do a podcast on it. That's when I finally pick it up, start seeing what you
need a break like that. We all do. It's
I could wish it was next week. I really do.
It's a little cold for that.
I know, and the ice is getting a little
hasn't
thin.
out, yeah.
Getting a little thin though up north though.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, it's that time again.
Oh boy.
Community Solutions once again presents The Women Love 'Em, The Men Want to Be 'Em, The Suffering of Succotash, The King of Sting, The Master of Disaster. Limousine riding, jet flying. Community Solutions own Jason Bradley with the sign-off sermon.
Thank you, Andrew. Well, another week, another day, another dollar. It's going to be another 50 cents the way the economy is going. I know everything's looking rosy, they're saying, right? Now you just wait, because the way they're printing money nonstop, it's only a matter of time till it catches up. So you better be putting something away. A dollar isn't going to be worth too much. Find some gold, find some silver. Trade some copper in. Well, I don't know, whatever you got to do. But let me tell you, we can make it through this. We can. And things are getting bad all around us, and it doesn't matter. We're looking at the school districts, whether we're looking at the state, whether we're looking at counties or cities. It's the same song. It's the same dance. Things are in good shape, but we're wearing down. And we see the policies that are coming at us from a state level, from a federal level, from a city level. And we wonder exactly what it is we need to do. How to do things differently. Well, guess what? We have to figure something out. We have to search through every available cell in our gray matter. We have to pray, and we have to listen, and we have to try and figure out what is it that we're not already doing that is going to launch us into a place of victory, a place of renewal, a place of reformation. Because it's not good enough for us just to see a couple of small wins here and there, but still be overwhelmed by the tide that is coming over us. I know a lot of us, we think that that's this or it's that, but really, I mean, it comes down to what we believe in our hearts. We will never have a good government if we're not good people. And we got to have an understanding of where people are at. Because the more compassion we show, the more empathy we can have. And that's how we win people over to our cause. That's how we, down the road, we affect change. We win votes. We change all of this is by being able to let people know that, hey, we're just human beings over here. We're not racists. We're not homophobic. We're not transphobic. We're not, we don't hate people. We hate policies. We get so tired of all of this, and we don't know what to do. But guess what? It's all right. But we got to press in. And we've got to press in like never before. We got to take this seriously. It isn't about what we are able to dream. It's about what we're able to do. We have to take those dreams and we have to make them a reality. And the longer we sit on the sidelines, the longer we wait it out, the longer we say, somebody else is going to do it, the more of it is, it ain't going to get done, folks. It's not going to happen. We need to score some big wins soon. It's just a matter of time. So what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? We got to become a point person in our city. We have to be willing to tell the truth and speak out no matter the cost. So I'm going to ask you, like I do often, to join us. Now, you may or may not ever be candidate material. That's all right. There's a job for you. There's something for you here. God has ordained it. God has given you something in your heart. We don't want a bunch of wasted dreams. We don't want a bunch of wasted potential. We're conservatives. We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. So we need to do all that we can to make sure that what we have doesn't fade away, doesn't go away. And Ronald Reagan said, once a generation loses freedom, it's going to be lost forever. That's a paraphrase, but that's what he said. So who's willing to fight by our side? That means putting these podcasts out there for people. We come up with the material, we record them, we edit them, we do it, we put it out there for you. All you got to do is comment and like and share. It's pretty simple. But then we got to get people involved. We got to get people who aren't afraid to speak out. And so whether you're forming your own group just like ours, whether you are moving into a place of wanting to run for something, get appointed to something, we are here to help you out because we realize that while we can orchestrate a lot of this, we can't do a lot of it. It's got to come from the greater good, the greater people. We're just a few here, and we need to band together because if we don't, it's going to be a tough few years. But you know what? Here we go. We're going to step out on the battlefield together. If you see something happening in your city, you see something that you want to talk about, that you want us to mention on the air, you let us know. There's COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com. COMMsolutionsMN@gmail.com, and we will be sure to work with you and try to get things in a place where we can take on those power structures and we can preserve freedom for everybody. It just takes a few. It takes 2% of the people here in this state. 2% of the people in the metro. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You know, we're so glad you follow us, that you listen to our podcast every week. It means the world to us. It means the world when you share it. It means the world when you comment. It means the world when you come and ask us about it. We could not do this without you. And we would be fighting against these people, and it would be hard. But we're ready. I hope you're ready. Well, we'll see you in another week. We love you, Minnesota. But now it's your turn to get to work. I get too caught up